This is where questions emerge around the nation's budgeting process. Because as we have it right now, of course, we all know the 2018 budget has not been passed or signed into law. We are several months into the year now. When we talk about giving customs, giving immigration, giving civil defense, giving the police force, giving the armed services all that they need to be able to execute their functions effectively, are we really doing that? What are your thoughts about kind of the politicized nature of our environment, of our administrative culture, and the effect that that's having on some of these issues?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think we set ourselves up to fail. If you look at how much money has been voted, of course, by world standard, we do not devote enough funding to our defense. There's no question about that. But the issue is, even the little that we deploy for defense, has it gone to defense? We hear stories of the military, brats over there diverting the money to other uses. So we are still dancing around the same mountain of lack of judicious utilization of resources, lack of probity in how we manage the resources of the land. Was it not one of the key inspirations about this current government coming to power, that things are going to be different? Where are we today?
Reverend Father, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts and the thoughts of all within my circle is basically that the government needs to be more transparent. I think this government got overwhelming support from the populace than any other government in the history of Nigeria. And they sat on the goodwill of the people and started taking so many things for granted. Like our budgeting process, I think it's a shame that up to now in April is gone halfway, getting towards the end. We have not gotten the national budget out yet. And I think we are really, really in their need of a government that will be objective, straightforward. It is not too late for them. They still have a year plus to go. Tighten up all the loopholes. You see, they will fight against corruption that is so desirable by all Nigerians.
One of the very interesting things we've just heard from the Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umahi, concerning the findings of their technical committee. One of the interesting things that came out was that not only are there security implications, but of course economic implications. We heard him talking about a new species to be developed. According to their report, they say that the more the cattle are moving, the less milk they're producing, and the meat is drying up and becoming smaller. Now, if they're able to succeed in putting ranches together in these conflict zones, how might that affect the nation's economy?
Well, number one, it will boost the nation's economy. The rest of the world has already learned that. Why is Nigeria still grappling with knowing the economic benefits of ranching? We do know that cultures can linger on for a while. What you have practiced over time, it becomes very difficult to just stop and then move on to something completely different. But who says that the government cannot develop a policy framework that builds into it a transitional plan? After wide consultation, you get all the stakeholders involved. And so, right, this is where the nation is going. And this is how we get there. In the next 5 years, this is now going to be the modus operandi of our livestock or in animal husbandry. What stopped the government from doing that? And I believe that we have lots and lots of information about the economic benefits of ranching. We have lots and lots of information about the security dimension that comes out of that as well. So what is stopping the government?
There seems to be a shift from a national approach to the issue to a regional approach to the issue. We've seen in recent times, they had the Land Forces Summit in Abuja, where you had all the international militaries come together to remind us of some of the African militaries. One of the conclusions is that indeed what we feared was true, that there are radical Islamists who are coming in from across the border. With that, if there's a regional approach and for the Ghanas and the Chads and the Nigers and the Cameroons are all able to get involved in this process, how might that ultimately affect the fight against these extremists that are coming in?
Well, you will recall that it took a regional approach to help Nigeria get the Boko Haram insurgency under control. Mm-hmm. Now, what we are witnessing now, which involves people coming from all over Africa, we are told, including Libya, definitely Nigeria cannot go alone. So I believe that it's in the right path to think regionally as an approach to this particular situation. In doing so, you see, the other countries involved do that because of their own national interest. Ghana knows what it means to protect their interests. Mm-hmm. Even Niger. Mm-hmm. So Nigeria being, a main player, if you like, mm-hmm. ought to be able to lead the way in showing that, look, this is our national interest, and when we get together regionally, this is how we make sure that all of us protect our interests and ensure that there is security for our people. Even if there's going to be, cross-border movement, it has to be done legitimately and with adequate security architecture to ensure safety for Nigerians.
Reverend Father, in view of recent intelligence that, indeed there are some conspirators extraneous to the country that are attempting to foment religious conflict in the country, you play a very strategic role as president of an association that has countless followers all across the country, going to several millions. What role would your association play and your community play in ensuring that we stay away from retribution and that we actively create the conditions for peace in the country?
Yes. In the aftermath of the attack in Makurdi, the association executive took a very positive decision. It will be unwise for us to call for mass protests at this moment, because calling for mass protests will be also doing the part of retribution or causing more chaos to this country. We have asked that all Catholics, because of our prayerful nature, we embark on a 9-day novena. Novenas are prayers for specific intentions. And the intentions we are putting forward is for peace and for justice. Peace for the country and justice to be implemented by the government of the day. That is the much we are asking for at this moment. Our followers are all out, watching and waiting for the leadership of the church to say something. Our bishops have spoken. They have condemned in totality the gruesome murder of the 2 priests. But before then, it's not only the priests who have been dying. So many others have died across the country. Christians and Muslims and non-Christians and non-Muslims have also died. But this one has gone too far. That in normal war convention, people run into the church for protection. And now this is taking a new dimension. And that is why we are thinking of the provocative part of this whole game now. That striking the priest and in the church will want to make us sit up and begin to think otherwise about the next line of action. And that is why I am careful about the story that has emanated from Makurdi. I have been following events since yesterday, since last night, and I have constantly spoken to the chairman of this association in Makurdi. And he says, Father, you know where I live. These crises are not there. But if it has happened overnight, I cannot confirm.